All right. Boys and girls and boys, attack helicopters, Lego trains, pine trees, attack helicopters, however you may identify. Who are we to say you're none of those things? Welcome once again to what I hope to be a reasonably regular chat with my good friend Scotty, the Carnivore Lion. Well, formerly the Carnivore Lion, and then something else, and now he's the Carnivore Lion again. So still the Carnivore Lion, really, in effect. Good to have you, Scotty. What's new, son?
Oh, not much. Yeah, a lot of name changes with the channel. I was having a hard time deciding whether I should keep the Carnivore in, but you know what? I decided that that's what everybody knows me by, so I'm happy to keep that name. What do you think, Bart? Do you have a name suggestion for me?
Well, I think Carnivore works well in terms of the algorithm, in terms of making your channel, visible. Maybe. I've never had Carnivore in my name of my channel. I'm doing as well as I'm doing without the word in there. I don't know. Whether it's that important or not, it's hard to say, really, as to what name you have or don't have, all of those kind of things. It's really a difficult one, given that Al Gore doesn't give up much about his algorithms, does he? He doesn't really tell us what sort of rhythms he's got or what's good.
I would agree to that, except if you have doctor in front of your name. That seems to get you a lot of hits.
Right.
And we're going to make fun of a few doctors today.
Oh, good. That's my favorite thing in the world to do.
Have you ever thought putting professor in front of your name? Would that
in my channel title?
Yeah.
I hadn't really, but maybe I could.
Yeah. Huh? Maybe that'll get you 1 million subscribers.
Maybe it will. Maybe. Right, there we go. We'll have to change it around and see what we get out of it.
All right. So we're going to go through a few influencers here. I know a lot of these guys are people who you really admire, but I know this is going to be painful for you, Bart, but we'll go after them. And I will say, I'll preface this by saying that I don't think all their content is bad. I think they do have some good things to offer, but there's also a lot of quackery in there as well. So,
all right, let's have your thoughts.
All right. All right. So we have Dr. Berg here. Now, I have to admit, I have watched Dr. Berg videos over the years. It's a guilty pleasure sometimes. I know probably, Bart, you don't approve of that, but the thing I wanted to point out in this video is I've watched quite a few Dr. Berg videos, and he always throws a product in there, right? Someone's always paying him to throw a product in there. And a lot of his claims are absolutely insane. But Bart, I wanted to get your take on this. So you could hit play and we could just listen to that.
All right, you tell me when to stop as well.
Best things to help heal the inside lining throughout your body. Number 6 is a very interesting product. You're going to have to look up the brand, but actual intestines with stomach. This is a supplement. It's from grass-fed cows. But if you have an inflamed colon, chances are you may have some type of autoantibodies, antibodies that are attacking your own tissue. And what this product will do, it will greatly help you. When you consume it in a capsule form, when it hits the stomach, the antibodies will go after that as a decoy and leave your intestines alone. And it's going to give you a lot of relief. So I would start out taking 1 capsule right before bed. Number 7, purified bile salts.
These claims have not been tested by the FDA, I imagine.
How much did the Liver King pay him to do that? Because there's only one product, Liver King's product.
Yeah.
How much did Liver King pay him to say that absolute nonsense? And take this intestine capsule.
Very, very
important. It acts as a decoy.
I don't know, mate. Let me just get rid of this.
It acts as a decoy. So what I'm thinking about, Bart, and maybe you could join me on this, is I'm going to create a capsule that contains cow brain. Okay. So therefore, if you have the cow brain and you're dealing with some kind of mental impairment, let's say you go brain dead, something happens to you, you fall off a ladder one day, you could consume the brain and that will act like your own brain, and you could use that brain to help you.
Oh, look,
frankly,
Scotty, I think if we can feed someone powdered brain and that would genuinely act as a brain, that would probably be preferable to the actual brains that are being used by some people lately around the place. There are one or two people who are showing very, very few signs of brain activity. One of them there is not Dr. Eric Berg, chiropractor, for example. I mean, let's all take Eric Berg seriously. Absolutely. I mean, this is a guy who believes, or professes to believe, among other things, that human beings are actually the long-dead souls of some stranded aliens who crashed their spacecraft on Earth some millions of years ago and have taken over the body of some monkeys as conduits to their souls, and that the race of aliens involved are going to come back and rescue them at some point. And there's a whole bunch of secrets that people need to know about that. But of course, you only get to know those secrets depending on how much money you pay to the Church of Scientology. So, I mean, anyone that believes that, well, why would we believe anything you have to say about anything to do with science?
What is the worst thing that Eric Berg has said, in your opinion? Because you've done a lot of Eric Berg videos.
Yeah. Oh, I really haven't paid.
That really stands out for you.
No, I haven't really paid enough attention to Eric Berg to pick on one statement and say that's the worst one he's ever made. Pretty much everything I've heard Eric Berg say over the years has been wrong to some degree or another. I have absolutely no respect for Eric Berg whatsoever or anything he's had to say about nutrition, frankly. I think he's completely out of his lane, out of his league, has no business talking about nutrition and shouldn't be doing it. I also think that anyone that would take on board such a ludicrous theological belief structure cannot be taken seriously in any way, shape or form. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And part of the problem I've had with him is these insane product placements that he puts in his videos, these completely unsubstantiated claims, like this. I think this is one of the funniest ones I've seen.
Yeah.
But if you really look for them, I mean, they're pretty easy to find in pretty much every video he has.
Yeah.
Actually, the next thing he was about to get into were bile salts,
right?
Which, of course, he sells. And
of course.
Anyway. So Dr. Berg,
I mean,
how did he get so many subscribers?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. It's a combination of, in general, the American fascination with and deification of anyone who puts the word doctor or something like that in front of their name, especially doctor, is a title that engenders respect from the American public for some reason. I have no idea what that reason is, but it's a matter of fact. Anyone that calls himself doctor in the States gets some degree of respect. Eric Berg calls himself doctor by virtue of being a doctor of chiropractic. Backcracking, basically. That's his field, not nutrition or physiology or any of that. Secondly, Eric Berg isn't hard to look at. He's not an unattractive man. Thirdly, he has a pleasant, affable personality, at least online. Offline, stories have it that he's actually a very, very nasty piece of work, which is quite the opposite of myself, who online can act like a very nasty piece of work when I feel like it for theatrical effect and for clicks and for notoriety and intrigue. But offline, I'm actually a very, very pleasant person. Eric Berg is the exact opposite, apparently. He's a bully, an absolute bully. I've seen multiple stories of the way he treats even clients, frankly, which would make your hair stand on end, frankly. Good marketing, I guess. There's a number of things that contribute to it. And people, for some reason... Well, the whiteboard, clearly that's what I'm doing wrong. I need a whiteboard and a pastel. I need a whiteboard and pastel colored shirts and some hair. And
you need to add professor from your name. I really think this would work for you, Bart.
oh, well, perhaps we'll put that in and see if it makes any difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe lose the potty mouth, you know.
Well, come on now, son. Come on.
You need to straighten you up, Bart.
Straighten up and fly right, you think? Maybe. We'll see what happens. Yeah, so Eric Berg, yeah.
Yeah. All right, shall we go on to the next?
Absolutely. Let's have it.
All right. This is another Bart's list of favorite doctors here. Stephen Gumby, as you call him. And he seems to know a little bit about lectins, but fuck all about everything else. So thought I'd just point this out by sharing a little clip of this video.
Mm-hmm.
He seems to be big on one anti-nutrient, but really nothing else. And I think one thing that really annoys me about him is that he has to read everything. So it doesn't really seem like he knows anything about anything and can't speak for even 10 seconds without reading his cue cards. So I don't know why people like this guy. Again, he has a doctor in front of his name. He knows a little bit about lectins and really knows nothing about anything as far as I'm concerned. So he's on the list of YouTubers that have made it huge for whatever reason. I have no idea why.
Is he huge though? I don't know. What's his subscriber count?
I think he's got about half a million.
Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, that's
pretty
significant. Big. All right, Gumby, tell us all about something. Go on then.
The amazing benefits of dark chocolate. Okay, when I say eat chocolate every single day, I mean it. And you should be eating it too. Why?
And that's why you need to be struck off the medical register, Gumby. Plain and simple.
It's funny how he can't read one word. Yeah. He can't speak one word without reading his cue cards. He does this every video. It's so annoying.
Yeah.
But here he is, touting one of the highest oxalate foods imaginable. Dark chocolate and cocoa has one of the highest anti-nutrient profiles I've seen of anything. Mm-hmm. Not to mention mold and everything else. It's just a terrible, terrible food.
Yeah. Are we done with Gumby, or is there more to hear on this?
I think there's probably a little bit more to hear.
Let's have that. Let's have that.
Seconds.
Why? Well, dark chocolate is loaded with polyphenols, which, as you know, are incredibly important for good health.
No, they're not.
And the polyphenols in chocolate may be one of the most perfect combination delivery devices of getting the right polyphenols.
The exact dietary requirement for polyphenols in the human diet is none at all ever.
Into you in a delicious package that's ever been discovered. In fact, numerous studies have proven.
Studies show, Scotty, numerous studies apparently. Has he cited numerous studies that show what he claims numerous studies show?
I don't know. Let's find out.
The beneficial health effects of consuming.
Beneficial health effects, the conjugate of cause and effect. Are there any studies that deal with cause and effect on any aspect of human nutrition and heart health outcomes in human beings of any kind over any period of time, Scott? Tell us.
I believe the answer to that is no, but maybe you could enlighten me on that part.
You are correct. No is the correct response to that question. None exists, so Gumby's lying again.
Dark chocolate. Take the study on the Kuna Indians, for example. The Kuna Indians are an isolated tribe who live on the Caribbean coast of Panama. Hypertension is incredibly uncommon in this group.
So?
This guy's just so stupid.
Yeah. It must be because they eat chocolate. That's what he's going to say next, isn't it? And they eat chocolate. Therefore, there's cause and effect. There's your proof. Anecdotes, there, boys and girls. Just anecdotes. No actual evidence of any kind. Just anecdotes. My word. I don't think I can bear
Let's listen to
anymore.
this for a few more seconds.
All right, people.
Even among the elderly. But when Kuna people migrate to urban environments and change their diet, their rates of high blood pressure soared. Now, notably, their traditional intake of cocoa, as the beverage was very high. They actually
So cocoa is an ingredient in chocolate. It is not chocolate.
drank more than 5 cups daily of either homegrown cacao or Colombian cocoa powder, which is rich in polyphenols that are called flavonols. Now, interestingly enough, the flavonol urinary levels of the island-dwelling Kuna were significantly higher, and their rates of death from serious illness were significantly lower.
Oh, well, that's a slam dunk then, because there are no other degrees of freedom existing in the universe, are there? Human beings are very, very simple creatures. They don't have a myriad of confounds, covariates, and collinearities that can affect an outcome such as lifespan or health span in any way. Of course not. Very good, Gumby. Very good. I think we've done with Gumby.
I think we've had enough of him.
My word, what an absolute buffoon.
So I saw you did a video on him recently talking about the carnivore diet and how detrimental it was for long-term health.
Yeah.
So what do you think are some of Gumby's worst offenses, Bart?
Claiming to be an authority in the conduct of science. He has 1 or 2 peer-reviewed publications under his name. That doesn't mean he necessarily is actually a competent scientist. Talking with confidence and authority about what studies show and completely and utterly misrepresenting those very same studies in so doing, I think that's unforgivable. Probably firstly and foremostly, as a physician, as primarily a cardiac surgeon, his general training is in generalized allopathic medicinal practice, which is basically diagnosis and intervention, usually by means of pharmacological means. And his surgical training is just that. It's a precise set of skills which enable him to operate on the hearts of people who need operations on their hearts. He has, in his life, in his professional life, probably less than 5 hours total of any nutritional or actual physiological organ systems, how they work, training in his life. He is not qualified to speak on human nutrition. It is not his field. And as such, neither is science, frankly, although he has managed to inveigle his name onto some papers. That doesn't make him himself, obviously, a competent scientist. Basically, he's a bloke who totally misrepresents himself, his own skill level, his own competence level, largely in order to fleece people, to sell them a product or a number of products. Now, let's be very clear on selling people products. There's nothing wrong with endorsing or selling products. Nothing whatsoever, provided those products are of utility to the people using those products and that those products can be underpinned by peer-reviewed science showing that those products indeed do exactly what they say they do. These snake oils that a lot of these characters are involved in selling give a bad name to selling anything to anybody. And to me, that's also a crime, because there's nothing wrong with selling products to people. I myself am involved in selling products to people. Good ones that work and do what they say they do. Very unlike snake oil and telling people to eat chocolate.
Yeah. Well, I totally agree with that. I don't think there's any harm in selling products as long as you believe in the product and they are a benefit to people, not just, I don't know. I guess people know my thoughts on these organ supplements and everything. And it seems like you can't go through a quarter of a video without them pumping some kind of product, right? Some kind of bullshit product. So
you'll also notice on my promotion of products, I generally tend to do it in passing as a quick mention. And by the way, here's something you should be aware of. It's a very useful thing for you, I would suggest. And I probably mention it 2 or 3 times a week tops on a heavy week of mentioning it. These guys are hammering the same things all the time. So again, there are levels and levels of all sorts of things, aren't there?
Yeah. All right. Anything else to pass off on Dr. Gumby, or should we?
Complete waste of perfectly good oxygen, that boy. What's next?
All right.
All right, Scotty, who's this? Hang on, let me get myself sorted out here. Sorry, Scott, go for it.
Yeah, this is Dr. Tracy Marks, and I believe she's a psychiatrist, and her predominant things in terms of curing mental illness is to go on more of a plant-based diet. And she's constantly making claims in all of her videos. She has over 1 million subscribers. I don't know how she got this many subscribers.
Probably by saying, my name is Dr. Such and Such.
Right. So we have another doctor here, of course. And she makes all sorts of crazy claims about meat that are unsubstantiated. She never has any studies, like nothing. She doesn't present anything. She just makes these stupid claims.
Right.
So I thought I'd just bring this in. It's a very small clip, but I just wanted to point this out because she kind of annoys me.
Fair enough. Okay, so this is someone, you tell me she's a psychiatrist. I'm not familiar with her myself. I've never seen any of her stuff whatsoever. If she is a psychiatrist, again, her training is firstly in allopathic medicine as a general practitioner, and then a specialization in psychiatry specifically. There will be no training whatsoever in nutrition. This is a woman who is out of her lane. All right.
She's constantly making claims on nutrition. She is a psychiatrist. I just looked her up in Atlanta, apparently. So.
All right. Okay, then let's hear from Tracy Smith. Is it? You said Tracy Smith?
Tracy Marks.
Marks. Where did I get Smith from? Oh, Tracy Marks, psychiatrist. Let's hear it.
Gut bacteria. What makes you have good versus bad bacteria?
We don't know. There is no science that can underpin any claim one way or the other on that topic. We don't know what good bacteria is or bad bacteria is whatsoever. We know more about the surface of Mars for sure than we do about how the microbiome works. So this will be interesting.
Several things. Diet and medications. Diets high in processed foods, sugar, red meat, and fast food promote the bad bacteria.
Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. We don't know what the bad bacteria is. What the situation is with the microbiome, clearly, patently, unequivocally, is that there are a number of different sorts of microbiota that people can have that are associated with apparently perfect health in those individuals. It's about balance. It's about a peaceable arrangement in that person's gut between the various different species and phyla and stuff that are in there, such that it's a happy community and they're not all at war and trying to kill each other and all this kind of nonsense going on in there. What is a healthy microbiome? It's one that's possessed by someone who is apparently healthy.
Yeah. Of course, she had to throw red meat in there, right?
Of course.
Fast food, junk, sugar.
Yeah, let's absolutely lump red meat, the very thing that we've evolved on for probably 4.5 million years, in the same category of things as sugar, refined nonsense, all of that. Absolutely, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And there's a lot of people out there that seem to have this belief. I don't know where they get it from. Perhaps there's some stupid study out there saying that the more diverse your gut microbiome is, the better your mental health is.
Also false. That's a loose, not very good, not very powerful association. Again, a person who has apparent health in all aspects, including mental, psychological health, may have any number of different sorts and balances of microbiome. There are all sorts that they can have. So we do not know what a good and bad microbiome is. We do not know what a good and bad microbiome inhabitant is. This is just ideology and nonsense.
And lots of medications, and not just antibiotics, can change the population of your gut. Your age, as you get older, your bacteria population becomes less diverse.
So?
Your sleep. Bacteria are sensitive to circadian rhythm changes, so poor sleep promotes bad bacteria.
We don't know what bad bacteria is, so that is utter nonsense.
And increases inflammation.
That it does, perhaps.
And then activity level. Aerobic activity improves the diversity of your microbiome.
All activity is aerobic. There is no such thing as activity that's not aerobic. So, another pointless statement.
The connection between having poor microbiome health and depression is so strong.
Yeah, but we don't know what a healthy microbiome is, so there cannot possibly be a connection drawn. This is ridiculous.
That research has shown.
Oh, research has, there we go, there's the classic line. Research has shown, multiple studies agree, there is compelling evidence in support of, convergent lines of evidence suggest. Great, let's have them. Did she cite them? No? Okay.
That transplanting feces containing the bacteria from a non-depressed individual to a depressed individual treated the depression. So we
treated, that's a cause and effect statement. No. Was associated with, in some cases.
know that this is a real thing that matters, but unfortunately,
we know it matters, but we don't know enough about it to know how to moderate it. This isn't hard to understand, is it, Scott?
I don't think so. I just, she's making a lot of claims with nothing really to substantiate them, right?
Exactly.
It's just, again, you can't prove cause and effect on any of this stuff. So, I think we've had enough of Tracy Marks.
Indeed, I agree.
So you're not familiar with her?
No,
work?
still
Maybe
not familiar.
Talk about her more often.
Maybe I will.
All right. So let's move on to the next one then. Yeah. So Dr. Greger.
No, hang on, just a minute. Michael Greger, not doctor. Yeah.
Well, I would say that he's my favorite influencer. I love watching this guy and listening to him speak. He has such a pleasant, smooth voice. You know, he's usually on his treadmill. He really motivates me, you know, to get moving. It's great.
Well, you need to know, Scott, that if you don't eat your fruits and vegetables, you might die. Do you know that? Do you know how important your fruits and vegetables are, Scott?
Yeah, well, Dr. Greger has convinced me to become a vegan.
Oh, good.
Because that's how much I love him.
Right.
So I'm sorry, Bart, but I'm switching sides now. He's touched on cancer a couple times. I don't really understand his stance on this because in this video, he talks about how keto actually makes cancer worse. And then he has another video where he says that fasting is a great therapy for cancer. So I don't really understand that.
Well, neither does he, because he's not a doctor.
I'm missing there?
He doesn't understand either, and it's because he's not a doctor. He has medical training, which he completed. However, his exact number of days ever in his entire professional life practicing medicine, actually seeing patients, not one ever. The exact same number as Paul Saladino. These guys should not be using the term. I mean, they're legally entitled to call themselves doctors, sure, but it's disingenuous at best. Neither one of them has done a single day's being a doctor in their lives. So
in his other video, he talks about 2-week fast being beneficial for cancer.
Yep.
Forgive me if I'm mistaken. Would that not be? Would you not be in ketosis after 2 weeks of?
Yes. Yes.
Isn't that primarily what the whole? You know, I've had a bunch of people on my channel who have beat their cancer naturally, and they did a lot of fasting and were on high ketogenic diets. In fact, I had one guy on who pretty much just ate ribeye steaks. He had colon cancer of all things, if you can believe that. They say, you know, red meat causes colon cancer. He actually used it to treat his cancer. But let's go ahead and listen to.
All right, let's see what this is all about.
All right.
Blood sugar, also known as blood glucose, is the universal go-to fuel for the cells throughout our bodies.
False. No, it isn't. Straight away, false.
Our brain burns through a quarter pound of sugar.
No, it doesn't. Your brain doesn't burn anything whatsoever. Your brain oxidizes some substrates to produce energy. It doesn't burn anything.
A day. It's preferred metabolic fuel.
No, it isn't preferred at all. The brain is an obligate consumer of glucose. If you remove the capacity of the brain to be subserved with a minimum amount of glucose per hour, per minute, if you like, per second, instantaneously, that brain will start to die immediately. There is no two ways. It's not a preferred fuel. The brain is an obligate user of glucose. It can also use ketones when ketones are available in the bloodstream. Ketones are not an alternate fuel. They are an adjunct fuel. So let's get that straight before he even says it, because I know he's going to.
Body can break down proteins and make glucose from scratch, but most comes from our diet in the form of sugars and starches.
Unless, of course, you eat a species-appropriate, species-specific diet that does not contain plant materials, starches, or sugars, in which case your body makes all the glucose that it needs itself.
If we stop eating carbohydrates or stop eating altogether, most of our cells switch over to burning fat.
No, they don't burn anything still, and it's not really a switch-over situation. It's a predominance situation of what substrates are being oxidized to produce energy, which is entirely in line with logic and common sense. You utilize what's available. And if there is a good reason to utilize one thing ahead of another thing, your body will do that because the body's been evolving the way it's been evolving for, well, millions and millions and millions of years to do exactly that. We're still waiting for Michael to make any kind of point here.
But fat has difficulty getting through the blood-brain barrier.
It's not difficult. Fat cannot cross the blood-brain barrier, Michael. See, he doesn't even know that, clearly. It's incredible.
But our brain has this constant massive need for fuel, one organ accounting for up to half of our energy needs. Without it, the lights go out permanently.
Mm-hmm.
To make that much sugar from scratch, our body would need to break down about a half pound of protein a day. That means
if it was using protein solely for that purpose, it doesn't. Most gluconeogenic precursor is glycerol, which is the backbone of triacylglycerol or fatty acid molecules, not protein. For goodness sake. Incredible. You'd have to break down half of it.
We can't go through 2 seconds without him saying something absolutely ridiculous.
No, that's right. Michael Greger is absolutely the king of every single statement he makes. Every single sentence is false. Not one thing this man says is correct. It's incredible.
Oh, God.
Absolutely incredible. Yes, half a pound of protein per day would be required to subserve the needs for gluconeogenesis if you didn't have glycerol and other monocarboxylates and things contributing as well. Idiot.
Cannibalize ourselves to death within 2 weeks, but people can fast for months. The answer to the puzzle was discovered in 1967. Harvard researchers famously stuck catheters into the brains of obese subjects who had been fasting for over a month and discovered that ketones had replaced glucose as the preferred fuel for the brain.
No, false again. In deepest nutritional ketosis that you could expect a person to achieve even after several months of complete fasting, still, it's something like 19.5% of the energy is coming from ketones. The rest of it still comes from glucose, having been produced via gluconeogenesis, mostly from fat, as are ketones, i.e., bugger me, basically entirely 100%, give or take a very small amount, of the energy is provided for, in the first instance, fat. That's why you don't cannibalize your protein structure. Why would you? Why would the human body break down its own hard-earned, hard-gained protein structures, muscles, etc., if there is 1 single gram of fat stored on the body that could be used for that purpose? Why would your body do that? After 4.5 million years of evolution, at least in this format, or very similar formats, why on earth would your body do that? Scott, please tell me. Just say that.
I'm not a doctor like Michael Greger, so
Oh, of course. Right.
It's not my area of expertise. This
Right.
is yours. So
Right. Okay.
I don't know if we should keep listening to him. I just can't stand his voice any longer.
Right.
Just kill him.
Anyway, we get the idea. Michael Greger, wrong about everything as usual. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
well, he goes on to say about how ketosis makes cancer worse.
well, what's the mechanism there that he's claiming?
He's using a study. There's a study he brought out.
A study shows. All right. How much further into the video is
and
it?
It was based on one type of cancer. Now, from my understanding of cancer, as I've had Dr. Seafried on my channel, who explains it very well, is that it ferments off of glucose and glutamine.
Mm-hmm.
So some cancers could feed a little bit more on glutamine than glucose.
Yeah.
Where perhaps, I don't know if having a high glutamine diet would be perhaps deleterious for some people with certain types of cancer. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you can't, even if that were true, you can't look at one type of cancer and say that ketones are the source of that, right?
Right.
It is more so the glutamine component. Day video.
All right, so this is Salad Boy with what he eats in a day, is it?
It is, yeah.
All right.
Now, Saladino, his channel's really blown up recently.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's all those organs that he's selling.
Yeah, it must be.
But there we
right,
go. Well,
so
let's just let Salad Boy speak for himself.
All right. What have you got for us today, Salad Boy? Let's hear it.
My name is Paul Saladino. I'm a double board certified medical doctor. I'm going to show you what I eat.
Yeah, but okay, double board certified. What it is? Double board certified medical doctor. Yeah, but he's never done a day's doctoring in his life. He's passed 2 exams, one in general medicine and one in psychiatry. Neither one of them in nutrition. So why would you even mention that? It's irrelevant to this video or this topic.
Again, it's with the doctors. This is what you have to do, Bart. I'm telling you. Got a doctor in front of your name.
Right.
Eat in a day. I start my mornings early. I like to get up and surf. I'll go outside, put my feet in the grass, get sun on my face and my eyes, do a little bit of light movement, and then I come inside, have a little bit of
He's doing pretty well for himself there.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably quite a bit of money to be made in selling unnecessary supplements and getting advertising revenue from Big Honey.
Big Honey.
Big Honey. Or indeed Big Fruity, whatever.
Organic honey. I like this honey because it's local. It's from a farm that's very high up in the mountains, so I know it's glyphosate free. I have a couple of spoonfuls of this before I get out to surf. I have some reverse osmosis water, and then it's off to the ocean for a couple of hours of surfing every morning. Usually the first thing I do when I get back from surfing is drink a coconut, and then it's time for my first...
This is a guy that calls himself Carnivore MD. Still calls himself Carnivore. Ridiculous. All right, Scotty, I'm going to have to close off.
Honey and coconut.
Yeah, I'm going to have to actually cut off. I'm out of time, unfortunately. I have a paid client hour in the next hour. Look, it's been fun dealing with some of these wackadoodle jobs. I mean, yeah, we could go on all day, isn't it? Really?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, this was the last one, so
all right.
I think I'll do a video on this, just myself going through this as well. But thanks so much for coming on today, Bart. Really appreciate it.